Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, reminder, don't do that. All right, so hey everyone, welcome back to welcome back to Better Humans. James and I are off to a great start so far. Um, Welcome back to Better Humans podcast. This is a podcast. We come in and talk about entrepreneurship as the greatest form of personal development, and business is how we go out and reach out and help others through the transformation that they want in their lives, shared values, mutual benefit, all that good stuff. And everyone, welcome James Fawcett to the podcast today. James and I met through a mutual friend, and I met that friend at some like business networking meetings. And he goes, "Oh, I've got a buddy who knows about ClickFunnels." And I was like, "Cool, like, love to meet him." Right. And so next thing I know, James and I, we get together at this whiskey night over at the mutual friend's house. And it turns out that like James is actually one of our top affiliates at ClickFunnels, which was actually very, when it was super crazy. I was like, man, this is such a small world that like all of these top performers in the internet marketing industry and also in like the ClickFunnels industry, they're like all in proximity, like sometimes geographically, but also sometimes it's just like one or two relationships away. And so I really, really enjoyed like getting to meet James and getting to know James. But yeah, James, welcome to the show and thank you for coming on. Do you remember that night at all? Like, did it go down basically the same way that I'm recalling here?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was just definitely we connected, obviously, and then we met at our mate's place at a whiskey night, and then we just sort of like hit it off, and I remember you brought your buffalo chicken dip and some nuts and the corn chips and a decent bottle of whiskey too, which was pretty good at the
Yeah.
time.
No, I
I
try.
really
Yeah.
did.
I
I
mean,
did enjoy the whiskey for sure. But yeah, yeah, no, it pretty much went down that way. And then I know you and your partner, your wife, have come over to our house a couple of times as well. And
oh,
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
believe I didn't put this in the
we
notes, but do you remember the Halloween party?
yes, yes, we did.
Okay,
Yep.
I have to share this. Okay, so James has some kid, and we'll get into like James's family and everything, but he and his wife Amanda were doing this super amazing thing for their kids and like all the kids in the neighborhood, all the kids in their school, and they did this entire haunted house on the lower floor of the house. And so it's like as you're walking down their stairwell, it starts the descent into the haunted house. And everywhere you weave, they've got like black tarps up, like garbage bags and like giant like black construction paper and stuff, and I'm going down their stairwell. It turns out they're missing the right handrail or hand railing, and it's just this hole in the wall. So I don't know what happened. I basically lost my balance, and my entire body punches through the wall, and I fall probably like a good 5 or 6 feet, just like
Yeah,
down to the concrete floor on my back. And I'm like, what just happened?
yeah, it was a
Man,
very dark days for sure, with very like spotty lighting and everything like that. It was great for the kids, that's for sure. It was like
man, I
we,
forgot about that.
we had tarps lined up, channeling the kids through like a maze type thing, and then we had people underneath the tarp grabbing legs.
Dude,
Oh yeah, it's
oh
good
my
fun.
gosh. Well, okay, there you go. There's our history together. It's just a ton of fun goofing off, but also kind of mixed in business. We mastermind together a good bit as well, and so we've got kind of the best of both worlds in this relationship. Um, so James, earlier I was sharing this feeling that like, man, it's such a small world that like, oh, I've got some super amazing people like in my network or even just, here in North Georgia, but you're actually not from North Georgia. If anyone's listening and has a keen ear for it, James is actually from Australia. So what actually brought you over here to North Georgia?
Oh, my wife. So she was we met online, and yeah, so we met, and over time we ended up having, got engaged and got married, and then obviously went through the green card process and stuff like that as well. And now we share two kids together, and also we brought a child each into the relationship from past relationships, which was pretty awesome. So you can almost call us like the Brady Bunch in a way.
Sure.
And
So so you two one child each from the previous relationship is two kids, and then you brought two kids in your marriage, and so you got four kids in total?
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you went through the green card process, you came over here, but like what is your wife from here or like what's so special about North Georgia to y'all?
Yeah, so she was born in Atlanta, and her grandmother
Okay.
grandmother lives up here, just in the North Cobb area. And yeah, so we definitely we she was originally living in Tampa when I first came over, and then we moved up here to be closer to her grandmother. So that was pretty much the plan there. And yeah, so obviously I found work, and once I got a green card, we came up here and we started renting out apartments, and um, finally got into. I found work. Finally got a job, and yeah, so they've been able to. I was in the 9 to 5 role for there for a while, and I was able to.
Well, what was that job that you got to come here to America?
So yeah, once I got the green card, it was I got into like client service relationship, which is basically like just processing invoices for factoring companies. So truckers would send in the invoices, would factor them out, basically giving
Oh,
them like it's like a payday loan in a way. And
okay.
then yeah, so that was pretty much what I did. And then also did some of their accounting books because I got a bit of accounting history as well from Australia. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, what is that? I'm really just trying to get a gauge here because I know what you do now, and
Mm.
it's got me really curious. Like, how does someone transition into that? And there's going to be a ton of people like who may listen to this podcast, and maybe they're in some of those positions where they're in what you would consider your previous role, but want to transition into something with a little more time, money, and location freedom,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about here in a bit, right? But like, so you've got the job history in the United States. What were you doing all the way back in Australia as well?
Yeah, so back in Australia, I was actually working for the Australian government, and I positioned myself pretty quickly in middle management there in one of the government departments of education, and I was doing a lot of portfolio work, like financial management type roles, and like I got myself up there pretty quickly, and I was in six figures,
Okay.
like yeah, like sitting around about 120, 130k Australian a year,
Right.
and making the fundamental shift. And then I got like a terminal redundancy. Basically, they say, okay, you're done. Here's your package. Leave the building now, please. So I got one of those, and I called it a day. And then I was with Amanda at the time when this all happened, and then I called it a day, and then I shifted over. And yeah, so that's when, and making that transition between there and here, I couldn't get a job anywhere here, like for the same thing. Like they just wouldn't hire me. And a lot of people call me overqualified, even though
Mhm.
I was performing the same work over back in Australia, but they wouldn't take me on here. And I've tried to get higher tier jobs and they still wouldn't take me. Couldn't get a job in the US Fed government because I wasn't a citizen. And you still needed a certain level of like five master's degrees in order to get anywhere in in these certain roles. So it was just insane. And all I had was a bachelor's, but I had a phenomenal amount of experience back in Australia. So that was that. And then obviously not being able to find that job, and it was having to settle for an initial $15 an hour just so I
Yeah.
can get some
Wow.
money in. Because like by the time I was able to go through all that, like the funds were just depleted, and I had nothing. Like I went from doing this and I went from to nothing, and it was a very it was a bit of a very worrying time. So I had no choice but to find a job just to get money in.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to find the place that I was working for because the owners were great. They looked after you, and they were very supportive, especially with being family and as well. So I worked there from 2016 to right up until I left in 2020 when I finally got stuff going. But it was always that time when I was looking. I remember I could I'm totally have the potential to go back into six figures. And I was just like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that here doing what I used to do. So I had to let that go. And that was really hard. And then on
Right.
top of that, I had to learn new skill sets. So, like, right now, I know how to build a funnel really easily. I know how to build offers really easily. back then I had no idea. So it was
Yeah,
always
you
like,
probably thought a funnel was like what you use to put gas in the car, right?
exactly, because I grew up off a farm, so that's when I thought, like, I literally thought of a funnel was like sticking it
Yeah.
in a like a 44-gallon drum and then putting the hose in it. So it was just insane. So yeah, what we did was what I actually did, I was like, I had to start somewhere, so I jumped into a lot of things. Like I jumped into like a high ticket MLM, and that was the worst
Okay.
thing ever. It was like one of those stupid things. It was like you had to sell two products in order to qualify to receive any money on any future sales. So any sales that you
Uh,
made automatically went straight up, and you got nothing. Like 100% of it went to to your enrollee, and it was nuts. And so that was, and I made two sales over the course of 3 months, and then I tried to for another 6 months to get my own sale, and they just left you out in the dirt, and I was like, can't do that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I failed that, and then I got into CPA marketing, did really well with that, like cost per acquisition marketing, where basically you send
Mhm.
traffic to something and you get paid for it, paid per lead. And I did well of that for a while. Then the program shut down, and then I got stuck again because I didn't really have my own infrastructure in place. So I failed and learned over time. And while I was doing that, I was still working my 9 to 5 job, still putting what I can into the business, and learned skill sets. And and for me, it really didn't click until probably the start of 2019 when I actually did join the One Funnel Away challenge with ClickFunnels, and I built
Mm.
my first funnel or affiliate geared funnel to affiliate offers, and learnt how to create like a bridge type video sales letter to be able to pre-sell a product before they go to the affiliate page. And then once I sort of started doing that, recorded about 100 videos, try to get it right. And then I did the most ugliest VSL of all time on my phone in the car, free selling a product, just driving on the way to work. And then I stuck it in, and then it just took off. Like it fired off. And every time, like I ran traffic, I got a bunch of sales from it. And I,
Huh.
yeah, it was just really good. And then this was back in the Warrior Plus days when I was with Warrior Plus. I just recently moved somewhere else now with my products, but I was able to start just being able to get approved for affiliate offers, start promoting them, and then I started investing 100% back in whatever made revenue back into traffic and started building my email list. And then the biggest,
Okay,
uh,
so I want to pause here because I want to catch something because some people may be in a similar situation. So you're working a job, and the job isn't paying the best. So in all of your off hours, you're basically trying to make this like traffic and conversion thing work, right? If you could just like figure out how to make money online, is was the thought in your head like then I could leave my job, or was it like, well then I could work my job and I would get a little more money on the side?
yeah, so the initial thought was to bring in more money on the side. Amanda and I found out we were pregnant with Arlen, and he's now 5 years old in early 2019. And that's when it really started to kick in for me, like the seriousness of the situation and looking
Yeah.
at like the expected costs, especially like not like he's going to be a 6 week old baby. We've both worked. By the time he's 6 weeks old, he's got to go into daycare, and daycare was about $300 a week for a 6 week old, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to like start factoring in a lot of that, and I felt like my back was up against the wall, and I needed to do something.
Yeah.
So that's when it really started to kick in for me. But then the thought behind it though, just to come back to that, what you're saying, the initial thought was to, yes, continue to work, use the 9 to 5 job to obviously pay the bills in the meantime, and then start getting into this more full time. So I have the freedom and the time freedom, and being able to actually have a house big enough for the six of us, because there's 5 of us at the moment. My daughter's with a mum in Australia. and a big enough house, and obviously a big enough house to bring our friends and family in, so they can come stay and stuff like that. So there was a whole bunch of different outcomes that I was trying
Yeah.
to achieve throughout the whole process, and it was definitely I never wanted to stay in. By the end time I left that place, I was on $21 an hour. I got a dollar pay rise every year. Wasn't a lot, but it was money in the bank, and it was always to quit and get back into the six figures. Like, because I know that I had the capability of doing that. I never accepted my current situation of being in that job. I couldn't, like, just
Yeah.
knowing that I have the capability, but I had to do it. So that's what kept me the drive as well. And to know that if anything happened in Australia with my mum and dad or my daughter or my sisters or anything like that, the coolest thing now is that I can actually just pay for a plane ticket today and I could literally be gone tonight. Just be able to get on a plane and go. And that's what, for me, that's probably one of the most biggest wins. And obviously,
So
to,
it's not just about like the time or the
mm,
money, but the factor that you have location freedom
mm,
and option. Dude, look at these
big bubble,
things.
man. Love it.
um, you have location freedom, but you also have like options.
Mm,
I think that that is a thing that people miss. It's like, do I want to go plug into an office every day? Or do I want to go work from the beach? Do I want to be on a plane to Australia tonight? Do I want to be in a cabin with my wife this week? Like those kinds
mm,
of options, like they become available to you as soon as you tap into like a different like wealth system or like way to earn your income and build business. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I love everything that you just capped over. And I'm really glad that you're my neighbor here, here in North Georgia. So earlier we mentioned whiskey party, and I actually know that um, recently you've made this like shift to being sober. Like, can you tell me about like how you started, like realizing that you need to make this shift, and then ultimately just like cutting cold turkey?
Yeah. So just to, may as well just, I'm going to be honest about it. There's like in Australia, just to start off with, Australia obviously has a very big drinking culture over there. So ever since I was younger, it was for me, it was like knowing it was okay to have a couple of beers at night after work, right?
Mm,
So kept that belief throughout because it was what I grew up with, and my dad still to this day, he'll have one or two beers after work. As he gets older, he's dropped off a little bit, but it was just that mentality coming through, and then it started beers getting into, like, as I got older, beers started to get into the whiskeys, stuff like that. And in Australia they actually control the pours when you go out into pubs and all that sort of stuff. But then when I
mhm.
moved over here, I there was a lot of times when obviously a lot of emotional stuff like that, and then I kind of like started to lean against the drink a little bit, lean into the drink a little bit to cope with a lot of like some emotional stuff, and that's when it started to get pretty ordinary so there was a few bouts where I did quit, and then but I went back into it again because
Right.
obviously because of the social factors were a big part. Like it always felt that you always need to have while you're in a social setting, you always need to have a drink or
Yeah.
be able to like be socially conversive. And I'm very much an introvert, and sometimes it takes one or two for me to sort of like remove the inner filter as an introvert as
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I had the belief on there for a long time, and it was insane. And then obviously when you start going through issues and you start relying on the drink, those filters turn into other things like it can lead into like a bit of, sometimes anger and a lot of other like issues that go on, and and sometimes the people closest to you actually get affected to you, like wife,
Yeah.
kids, and like the kids coming home, or at night I would have a couple of whiskeys, and then I think probably in the last few couple of years, like I definitely, as a result, I did ignore it a lot. But the kids are like, "Oh, so Dad, you having another drink?" Or the missus has brought it up a couple of times where, she has been concerned about it.
Hmm.
And especially the shift from Australia over here as well, and not putting any blame on anyone, but the pores are bigger. So
Yeah.
you start getting immune to the bigger pours where they'll pour you a double instead of what you should be getting for a single. And then over time you go to the pubs and like for me, like I'll have a double old fashioned because that's what you like usually like bigger is better. And that
Well, it
led
just gets the
to,
party going faster, right?
yeah,
If that's
yeah,
if you
exactly.
just
And you
hit
can
that,
sit on
then
it longer.
you're at cruising altitude now, you know?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So that was some of the biggest things, and then it just got to a point where my body couldn't handle it anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and I was heading to Australia in September, and I won't go to it too deeply, but I was heading to Australia, and I had a long overnight flight, and had delays after delays, and I left here at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Atlanta, got to Denver, that flight got delayed from Denver to LA by 5 hours. So what do? I'd go up to the club, I have a couple of drinks, um, scotch, Coke was what it was. And then by the time that happens, obviously, because you're flying, you got to pretty much times that by two because you're up at a higher altitude, you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
dehydrated very quickly. And then by the time I got to LA, like I think I pretty much had a skinful. And then I missed my Australian flight, so I didn't get into LA until about 1:30 in the morning, LA time. So that's 4:30 here. So that's 24 hours I've been up. On top of that, I'm tired. I get up. I was dehydrated, and then I walked out to go get a coffee the next morning. And next thing I passed out on the floor in the middle of a hotel. And next
Hmm.
thing, by the time I woke up, I was on, heading to the hospital in the ambulance. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
that there and then. I remember like that there and then. I was like, okay, I'm done. I knew exactly what it was, and I was like, I can't be in this position anymore again. And so I quit. And it's created, in the past, it's created tensions.
Hmm.
And the one common thing was just the alcohol and the whiskey. And I could never just stop at one. It always had to be two or three. And now it's like you're always hazy. And then when you have a problem, you used to always go back onto it a lot. Used to like have to drink and all that time. So instead of actually dealing with the problems directly, I had to actually I have to actually deal with it in real time in order to stop banking up, so I don't have to like have the added stresses in order to feel the need to go have a drink. So that in itself, especially in like right now, probably feel the best that I've ever done, probably in the past 10 years, because
Yeah.
I feel like my body feels not heavy all the time. Because when you drink, your body always feels heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was just now I feel a lot lighter. Um, Now I'm trying to like I've concentrated that on for 6 months. I have zero desire for it. Like every now and then, I still think like even just yesterday, like uh, my wife Amanda and I went out and had Mexican down the road, and it's like oh, sometimes I used to love having a margarita with her just as
Sure. Yeah.
and I was like oh yeah, well I do miss like having a margarita, but I still had like there's a difference between missing it but also like the need to have it, and I didn't have the need to have it. I just remembered
Right.
those times that it was always cool to have some tequila. That's what it is. It's tequila.
So the main reason why I can sit here and like nod my head and like agree with you is because like you're not in like obviously this is very significant, right? But you're not in a unique situation. I think that there's a lot of people who struggle with this, and of course it's like it's me as well. So when you're discussing like, well, it's like it's affecting all the people around you, and most of the time it's the people closest to you. I also had an entire conversation with my wife about this, and so in a similar fashion where it's like okay the not just drinking but the excessive drinking is affecting your body. I
Mm,
started like there would be nights where it's like you're with friends and you drink too much, and the next day, it's not just it, and I know what a hangover feels like, but it was like something more than a hangover. It actually felt like my body was in shock.
Mm,
Like there was some kind of like adverse reaction happening with my gut and with muscles and everything. And I would tell my wife this like over and over and over again. And, like this wasn't happening like too frequently, but I mean, if we like think like maybe once a quarter or once every few months or so, that I would drink excessively.
mm,
Um, yeah, it was like I would tell her like I can't do this today. I can't handle like my body's in shock. Like I don't what I like I feel so bad. And finally we got to this boiling point where she was like, "You can't stop." And she's talking to me, but as I'm hearing this, she would say, "You can't once you start, you can't stop.
mm.
You say that you like can't handle it or it's fine, but you keep putting yourself in a situation where you keep getting like hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Like why won't you stop?" And as soon as like it's as she's asking me these questions, I have this realization that it's I'm like, "Oh, it sounds like she's talking about an alcoholic." And then
Mm,
I go, "Oh, she's talking about me." And that was like kind of like world shattering for me, where it was like I always knew like, well, I don't drink every day. Like I don't run to it when things get hard. I
yeah.
actually prided myself in knowing when situations were so hard, I would know that like, oh, a drink is not going to fix this, so don't even go there, right?
Yeah.
So I prided myself in that, but there was still this craving, and like once I like had some, it was like more, right? So I don't want to leave you hanging and like James spills all his guts about his transition to sobriety. Like I deal with this too, and there's tons of other men, tons of other women who also deal with this,
Yeah.
and like we're not alone in it. But definitely, I've had those conversations as well, and it's tough. It's really tough when like you're the subject matter in the
Yeah.
situation, and like you can always like cheer on and support somebody else. Like that's great that you're going sober, but I'll just probably knock back a couple more, or like I'll shift to being sober like next week. I've got this party I really want to go to this weekend or something like
Mm,
that. But like it's really important. Like it's your life and it's your health, it's your longevity.
yeah.
Like all of this matters right now. And so like I even just at like the age of 30, and you're older than me. I won't disclose how much older you are than me, but like even at the age of 30, I started recognizing that like, man, I I have a problem. I should
Mm,
probably fix this, right? I haven't gone completely sober, but I probably in the last 2 months have had one drink,
yeah.
two drinks. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Um, and just I feel a lot better. Everything feels really clear. Um, the problems are just handle it now. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it's
It was
it's a really good
definitely,
shift.
yeah, the biggest shift for me, unfortunately for me, it took like a monumental event in order to like make that clear snap decision
Yeah.
to like not do it. And the initial like couple of months was hard for sure. And then it does get easier. Like I'm very lucky in my circumstance. Like I do have a mindset where I can sort of like definitely have the ability to sort of like to reframe certain things in real time with how I think. So like I'm like for example like you know I might be having a craving, but then I'm just like for me sometimes like I remember the event and that event actually scared like the absolute shit out of me. So like I just don't want to go back to that. But then I also now like I probably less think about that event and now I think about oh what's this going to have an effect on me in the morning with my kids? Do I want them to
Yeah.
see what happened to me back there because they were lucky enough not to see that? And there's for me like just to be able to think about that and in real time, like I'm very lucky, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have that capability, and so like for me to also help, like I also got a life coach and to help me get through it. He was an ex-addict,
Yeah.
and he was like, man, so helpful. Like it was probably the best money that I've almost ever spent in order to like just to help me get through that shift that probably would have taken a lot longer if I didn't.
Well, you baked in
And
some accountability. Like
yeah,
if you didn't have that accountability, then you might have
yeah,
slipped, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there's also like talking, like going through back past experiences and stuff like that that led to drinking, that things that can creep up as well. So it's like
Hmm.
being able to go through all those sorts of things and being able to like tackle those were a big help. And he also like, I got into like, I didn't go to AA. Or never went to AA meetings. I did go to like some Dharma recovery meetings. So there's like every Tuesday, if anyone's local and they want to do that, they would have local recovery meetings called Dharma recovery meetings. So you get into like the Buddhist type thing, and we do meditation, and then we read about case studies as well that people have shared throughout the world with Dharma, because Dharma is actually worldwide, and that was really cool. And then on top of that, obviously the meditation. Then we go through and we talk about our own experiences and what we find out of
Yeah.
that experience and the takeaways. And for me, that was probably some of the best experiences, being able to share some of that stuff and reflect on other people's experiences and not always having to go back into, you know, always having to go back into the history of things and how you can sort of like progress forward without the need to drink. So that was some of the biggest things. Yeah, so I never went through the 12 steps or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, my approach was a little bit different, but there are different ways. If anyone's like looking to do that to get help, there's different
Yeah.
avenues like AA, Dharma recovery meetings, all different things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Like I'd highly recommend it for anyone who feels like it's time for a change. Go explore that. Like because the upside is really, really high and the downside is like, well, if you miss it that bad,
Mm.
whatever. But anywho, so James, earlier we were talking about your kids, and I've asked this question a couple times with other guests, and I'm really just trying to stack up in preparation for what's barreling down the pipeline in my life. But you've got so in total four kids. You've got your girl back in Australia. Amanda. Does she have a girl as well or a boy?
Yeah. Girl. Yep. She's
Girl.
16. Mm.
Gotcha. And then you've got two other kids. So in the process of going from one to two kids, um, what was that like for you? Because personally, I've got a boy. He's super amazing. We just got done having breakfast, and now I'm having like I just want to go see him and go play with him. I wish Anywho, um, what was it like for you to go from one kid to two kids?
It was definitely an experience. I'm not gonna lie. When meeting Amanda and then I met Sire. I met Sire straight away, like when I met Amanda. So Amanda never hid it from her. We also Amanda and I talked for a long time before we met each other as well.
Sure.
But Saya was actually very protective of her mother. She made it very clear that it was her mum, and it was definitely an experience. But it was also like Saya and I did hit it off pretty quickly as well. And there was like definitely having like a child that someone else is there's definitely dynamic things, and over time Saya and I have definitely grown a lot closer, and she's my baby now.
Hmm.
She's one of my own. Like I love her no differently to the others, and she's a good egg. She's a great kid. And just moving that to from one to two kids, like for me in that initial experience, it was definitely because Olivia, my daughter in Australia, didn't actually meet Sire until the end of 2023 when we actually went all over to Australia. So it was definitely more so when Amanda fell pregnant with when we had Marina. That's when the two dynamics came into play, especially with the two kids more than anything. And
Hmm.
that was in 2015. And Saya was like one of the best big sisters. Like she, Saya was 5, so she took on like this protective role. It might be a little bit different with your boy because he's still young, but they just gel really quickly. And
Yeah.
there's still going to be like some frustrate, like especially when they're young as well. They're going to be a little bit protective of their space. Like, no, that's my mum. as well as, stuff like that. So, they do miss the attention, obviously, because they were the only one. So there was that dynamic that you had to deal with as well. But there's also like a lot of reassurance that you need to give them too, so that, I love you no differently. We're still going to make sure we look after you too. And you got a beautiful little sister now. And why don't you
Mhm.
help me and sort of like incorporate that into into the thing as well. So, you know, and the same thing with Marina when we had Arlen. Um, Marina was very much, she was the baby for the longest time. But she's like, I don't know, our kids have got great hearts. The kids have got great hearts until, influences come into play. So, they generally just full, like, they love the idea of having like a little brother, a little sister. And, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of being able to continually being able to reinforce that and obviously reinforce their own little insecurities that they can get. So, especially when the attention's taken away and making sure that you keep that attention in place.
Well, you talked about reassurances, and do you like make time to like go out and just be with that one child, or have special time like indoors or like anything like that? Like, do you make plans for stuff like that?
Yeah, so like for example, like Si does a lot of soccer, so we'll go watch her. One of us will just go watch her and not have everyone else there. We also do like the odd breakfast, like the daddy daughter date as well. Amanda will
Okay.
take the kids out on their own as well and go shopping, just so they can have that time with her. Arlen has baseball. We both do. We both sort of like take turns in a way, so they have that own time, and then we obviously go as a family as well. There's definitely different ways of doing things. Like Marina has a daddy daughter dance every year, but then we also go out and do things like Marina and I will hang out after she gets home from school. So she'll have that time by herself there for about an hour and a bit. And, Sire gets home. So I drop Sire off most mornings to school as well. So we have that time in the morning to talk as well. So they get, they're always getting that sort of like attention from just us in a way as well, which is what they do need. They do need that, but then
Yeah,
also you need to have that time as a unit as well.
I
Yeah,
gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to start piecing this together now so it's not a scramble in a couple months. But yeah, we're coming in on like 8 or 9 weeks out. Uh, yeah. So here we
yeah, no,
go.
it's a huge thing. You definitely get into the thing of it, and have adding a new member is also like very, it's like you've been through it all before, but then it's still like, what's the next step with the new kid? And then by the time the third one comes around, you're kind of pretty much prepared. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we've got another one coming. Here we go for the third one.
Yeah.
Second one, definitely the second one was like, okay, how the kids going to intertwine with each other? Um, but like when it comes to like time with the kids as well, it's very like it's the little windows that you don't know that you won't see until they actually real time as well that you can sort of like need to take advantage of and be aware of it as well. So
Mhm.
that's for example, like I don't know, Marina and I will, I don't know, spend time with each other after school. Like there's a little window of time there, or, we're out and about and, sometimes the other kids will go off somewhere else and I don't know, me and Sire might go for a walk elsewhere because we're not interested in what they're doing. We'll just go do something else.
Okay.
Like, there's little things like that where
So look
kids
for the
do
little
notice.
pockets of time,
Yeah,
is what
there's
you're
little
saying.
pockets of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you don't necessarily can always plan on it. Like you can't sometimes put it in your diary. It's a
Right.
matter of being able to find those like in real time, just being aware of it. Like don't always like have to like need
Hmm.
to, your brain explode, but you will identify that when it comes to the time. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So, James, this podcast is called Better Humans, and we call it that because we believe humans should be left better than we found them.
Hmm.
Um, in that, I also believe that entrepreneurship is the greatest form of personal development, and that business is how we go out and take all of that like personal development and go share it with others through products and services, shared values, mutual benefit, and things like that. what's some of the hard, tough, or even like annoying things that you've been trying to solve for yourself? So think of that lens of like entrepreneurship, personal development, right? Or maybe something that you've solved recently, personal or business.
Yep. So business wise, recently for me, I've always struggled with Stripe and PayPal accounts, like a lot of people. So I've
Okay.
actually, so I was on Warrior Plus, and you have to host your own Stripe and PayPal in order to process payments on Warrior Plus, and I didn't have either one, so I've had to make a fundamental shift to move from Warrior Plus, which has a great affiliate network. They've got people, you release a new product and it goes out to everyone. Um, so you bring in a whole bunch of sort of like new affiliates, new customers. And then I had to go out, but I couldn't do that. So I had to find someone that actually got a merchant on record that can help process the payments for me. So I made a shift over to Explodely. And I think the biggest problem with what I had with Warrior Plus is that when I was outsourcing PayPal, and the PayPal's just died really quickly. And then when that happens, you can't actually refund within the terms of thing. You have to literally tell them, go to PayPal, and you have to dispute. You don't want to do
Oh,
that, but you have to,
no.
but in good conscience, because you have to go do that, and it was very painful process. So with Explodely, they Explodely make it very easy to be able to work within those terms. So if people actually want a refund, we can actually refund it. And
Gotcha.
it's got a better support outreach service as well. So they'll contact us through the Explodely platform. I do have my own support there, so I do have my own team, and they still manage that as well. They manage both actually, but Explodely makes it a lot easier for me to be able to actually focus more on customer service, being actually able to morally process refunds properly. Like that was probably the
Right.
biggest thing, like ethically, and actually adhere to the terms of service that we actually provide. And like as I started actually probably in 2020, like yes, making money was great, but I also incorporated some like bad habits based around some of like the offers and all that sort of stuff. So now I'm creating some new, more transparent offers and making sure that I'm passing that on to my students in my own coaching program, being able to do things in a better manner, and also
Yeah.
being able to do it profitably as well. So like being able, like for me in the last 6 months, like between getting sober, fixing the business restructurally, so I'm like, it's also it was one added stress that I always had. So alleviating that stress recently has been a big, huge weight off my shoulders as well. Um, cool thing about Explodely, they have one-click upsells, which I love. Warrior Plus
Good.
didn't have
Yeah.
that, and you know, it's just being able to like refunds and chargebacks have gone down dramatically because we're actually be able to converse with people, provide a better understanding of the product. Sometimes we do like push back on some refund requests because people just want a refund for a refund because they just fundamentally initially don't understand it. So we actually go through the process, and we have a special way of being able to like inform them of why they actually signed up to the product. And then if
Yeah.
they write back and then say I still want a refund, we'll just refund it. We just we
Doesn't it infuriate you the people that either sign up either as a like as even a, like as a lead to something and they go like, "What is this?" Like, I didn't sign up for this, and you're like, "Yeah, here's the screenshot, buddy. Like, yeah, you went to this page here, you opted in, you put in your email address. That's why you're on the list." And you're
yeah
like, "Oh, I didn't know that was what I was signing up for." And you're like, what, like
yeah
bang your head against a brick wall, like what's going on right now? Is this real? Like we're in 2025 and you don't remember putting your email down on this form and clicking a button? Like, anyways.
it's funny because like even when I like promote low ticket offers, man, like they have to enter their credit card 16 times, the number 16 times, and put the expiry date, and then the CVV, and then they have to enter their name and address and their phone number on the checkout in order for the payment to go through. And then they still come in and say, "Oh, I didn't purchase this." No, you did because you entered your credit card.
Yeah, because that's your credit card.
Yeah, it's your
And
credit card, and then
yeah,
and we track things like Explodely has ability of tracking IP and all that sort of stuff because of for their own records.
right.
And It's just amazing how in the digital world today is that people buy things, they immediately get a receipt from Explodely. On top of that, they get a receipt, they get an email, a welcome email from me, where I literally tell them that they got a receipt from Explodely from an email from me, and I inbox really well. So it just somehow fundamentally, like I don't know, I still don't understand it. But then, like
Me
apart
either.
from that as well, I've gotten a lot of great coaching students as well through the whole process, um, and just being able to improve that channel, which I have, especially over time, for people to be able to access things. Um, that's a big improvement that we've made, which has led to less refunds. That was probably the biggest refund issue that we had is that people couldn't initially access their product because they had difficulty getting into the system.
Hmm.
Which
That makes
we
sense.
so we
Yeah.
fixed that. We fixed that. It was more like a Warrior Plus issue because people figured the username and Warrior Plus username and all that sort of stuff, and then they couldn't do that through us, and then they had to go through Warrior Plus. It was like 5 degrees of separation everywhere, kind of thing. Whereas with
Yeah.
Explodely, they just literally click on the button in the email, the access link, and they go straight to the front end sign up page on our product, and that sort of like completely removes an additional layer of entry, which was really awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Reduced friction, increased onboarding, increased,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
engagement. That's, dude,
100%.
cream of the crop. I love it. So, on top of that question, kind of similar, but for anyone who's just starting out in 2025 and they want to like make money online, but they're clueless, they want to know the best way to start, like, and maybe even I'll add in this context, you can throw it in or just ignore it. In this new like AI driven reality, like what would you recommend for them to get started making money online, or where would you direct them?
The biggest, there's a lot of content out there, and I think people can get lost in a lot of content very easily. I will just literally recommend people to, I'll put it simply. I would recommend people to learn how to build an email list with, a good squeeze page. If you want to make it simple and you don't want to create your own offer and you just want to let someone else handle the inventory, go through the affiliate marketing route, create an opt-in page, drive traffic to it, and then have a link redirecting to an affiliate link going straight to a sales page after that, and then you know generate sales that way, just to keep that simple. But the biggest thing that I made was the fundamental mistake was that I didn't have a list, and my list is now like I've got over 100,000 subs now, and
That's huge.
yeah, across a couple of autoresponders, and um, that is my biggest asset. And even if, like, for example, my autoresponder falls off, like, for example, if deliverability falls off or anything like that, I could download that list and I can take it somewhere else and I could upload that list because they're all subscribed and that you're enabled to do that.
Hmm.
And I can start promoting offers again straight away once it's all warmed up again. It allows me, that's my biggest asset. That is the money maker. That is what I've created. And I can't stress it enough. And send emails every couple of days to an offer. Like, don't be afraid to, people want to buy,
Yeah.
it's obviously in the scope of how you want to promote things. Like, I'm very, like, I'm very aggressive in my marketing naturally, but don't be afraid to promote offers. Change it up. If something's not converting for you, change it up. You don't need to be married to any one affiliate offer. Like, I see people trying to, like, for years just trying to smash out one affiliate offer, and like that affiliate offer's been bashed to death. And it's known in the
Yeah.
marketplace. People don't want to buy it. Like, find something new. Look, take the time to research, find a new offer, and promote it because you'll definitely make more sales doing it that way. And don't be afraid to sort of like do a pre-sale page too. You know, people would appreciate your view on an offer, sincerely, how it would benefit them, what the outcome that they want to achieve, and make it outcome focused.
Do you ever like, I understand that you have a lot of your own products and your own offers, but whenever you've gone and like worked with anyone else's offer, do you buy it first and go through it yourself to better like to build a better bridge for your affiliates?
Well, I'm very lucky because I'll generally just get a review copy before
Okay,
I do it
gotcha.
because I've that's just being honest. Some people may not like it. It does. Some people do have to buy it in order to get the review because they're just starting out. But yes, I do recommend it obviously before you jump in. So you got like if you're going to pre-frame something, so you at least know what's inside of it. I've done a ton of review videos where like I'll pre-sell it and then I'll go through the actual product for 1 to 2 minutes, explain the overview of it, the outcome that it can achieve, and then I'll sometimes you can bonus stack it as well, like offer bonuses.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
them be transparent about the upsells on the other side as well, because there's always upsells. If there's no upsells, they're not doing the thing right as a vendor. But it's just
Mhm.
um, pre-frame it like in a way. Like I went through, I some of the best campaigns that I've done as an affiliate was doing a bonus review video, going through the upsells that they can expect, what the upsells actually do, and then I'll add a bonus to each of the upsells. So, for example, like if they bought the front end, they'll get a certain bonus. If they bought bonus upsell 1 and 2, they'll get an additional, more value pack bonus on top of that. And like the average cart value is just huge when
So
you
give
do
them
that.
a reason to say yes at every step
Yeah,
along the way, basically, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Love it.
because you eliminate the second guessing that they go through when they buy a product.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll directly just promote an offer without a bonus, and then people get on the other side and they'll go through these upsells, and they'll just go, oh, they get the shits with it sometimes.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you alleviate, okay, there's upsells, great. All right, now I know what I'm going to get into. So, yeah, there's definitely, and that's how I tell people promote my stuff as well. Pre-frame it. Pre-framing helps a lot with a lot of people. That's how I generally got very successful initially because I pre-framed the offer before I redirected them to the actual sales page of the affiliate offer.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
want to recap this
Hmm.
because I think that we went from someone is clueless and just getting started and kind of moved into a lot of like internet marketing jargon, right?
Yeah.
So which is great. That's fine. But like now we should probably translate it for them, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog is needs attention here. This is Odie. So what I understood from that was you started off saying build the list because the list is your greatest asset. The
Hmm.
immediate thought that came to mind is like if I was somebody who was just getting started is okay, well, my understanding is like if I am going to build a list and ask for their emails, um, what do I give them in exchange for the emails? So maybe we should talk a little bit about that. But on top of that, the other half of that is like, well, what do I talk about?
Mm.
And it's like maybe there's some hesitation here of like it's like introversion. Like
Yeah.
I can go talk to those people, but like what do I say? Like why would they want to talk to me? Do you have any advice for somebody who would get stuck on this idea of like why would somebody want to give me their email address? And even if they did, what would I say to them?
Yeah. So what you can actually do, and I'll keep it relatively simple because it's a pretty popular method of being able to get engagement on your list straight away, and obviously even add some, recurring revenue by incorporating a couple of affiliate offers. That are up. Yeah. So a really cool way to be able to capture is to frame it in like just to give away an initial ebook. And the really cool thing that how I do it, so when I give away an ebook, I will provide them a very basic overview of how to do it, right? Get the lead page, offer an ebook, and in that ebook, you can actually recommend the actual process. Like, for example, like the traditional 3-step process that people need to do. Step 1, sign up for an autoresponder, like or lead capture system. You can be either ClickFunnels or any other platform that there is.
There's no
And
other
then,
platforms. Sorry.
sorry,
This is it. I
yeah,
said there's no other platforms. This is it. Just kidding.
that's why I didn't mention any other ones. Anyway, and then what you can do is like offer the process of actually going through, because when you do actually explain the process in an ebook, they get an overview and they'll actually go through it step by step. So they'll sign up to ClickFunnels through your affiliate link, and then you give them a marketplace, for example, like where they can go find affiliate offers with the least path of resistance in order to promote an offer. Now, the cool thing about Explodely is that they don't need approval to promote offers, right? If the offer is public, like ClickBank or Digistore 24, like you can literally just sign up to it and go get your affiliate link, and then
Yeah.
very simple. And and have that process in place, and then you give them, and then you just explain the process on how to connect the dots in terms of ClickFunnels and setting up their emails, like how to send out emails, and then how to incorporate the affiliate link to go out to the email. So when they click on that link on the email, they're cookied to you. They go to the sales page, they make a purchase, you make a commission, right? And you
Nice.
can explain that very simple process in an ebook. So that means you can earn commissions straight up, as part of that, just that freebie that you give away in your opt-in page. And then you can have a program on top of that, throughout the email sequencing that you've set up for when that subscriber comes through like they'll send out emails every single day. And then you can promote either low ticket offers that you can promote to through a certain wording in your emails, or targeted emails to a certain offer. You can do high ticket. High ticket's great. There's a lot of great high tickets out there that you can actually get into without buying anything. And that's how and then when you give away something of value straight up, they're forced to get into that opt-in page, that first initial email. They're forced to click on the link. They're forced to go through it. They get a bit of an understanding of how to go through that. And then you're sort of like immediately creating a level of authority as well,
Yeah.
as your name is in their email box, right? So they've got that authority. Now, the cool thing is you can either do this, if you want, you can do it anonymously, or you can brand yourself. There's two different scopes of that. I won't go too much into it, but that's a really cool way of being able to just to do that as well.
I
And
gotcha.
you can have a video, like when they opt in, you can actually have a video explaining. Like it doesn't have to be too long. So when they go from the opt-in page and then they subscribe to you, you've got a video of yourself, or you don't even have to be on camera, but you can explain the process to click the ebook, what the ebook's all about, how it works, and then they go through that content, and then you can lace that ebook with affiliate links to, like I said, ClickFunnels, any other platform, like Explodely. Sometimes even Explodely, they just all have referral links that you can attach to, and you can get a small portion of a referral commission that they make when they sell something. There's money to be made everywhere. And then even having
I
like a
gotcha.
recommended high ticket offer as an affiliate that you can promote and make 50% commissions on, like on a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 offer. So, that's a really good value driven way of doing things. And like when you're starting out, that's probably the best way of being able to do that. You can use ChatGPT to create an ebook. Like, what's a
Yeah.
3-step process of building a list? And ChatGPT will literally write out like a 3-page ebook for you to give away in a video.
So if if I understand this then, so like based on the questions
Mm.
that I kind of brought up here is like, well, what like why do they want to give me their email address? Well, actually, like there's something helpful or valuable that you can do, and the mechanism or tool that you give them, you basically want to give them a free gift of some kind. The lowest barrier to entry here is like a guide, a PDF, or an ebook, right? So find whatever you're going to do to help them, put it inside of a mechanism like an ebook, PDF, or free guide,
Hmm.
and then in the process of handing that to them, also kind of like walk them through it and explain it. That gives you some of your first like emails and communications and touch points, right? But if you want to keep the conversation going, you just start talking about like kind of like what the next steps are, because you solve one problem for them, and then when you solve one problem, it always opens up the next one, right?
Yep.
So then you keep talking about how to solve the next problem and talking about how to solve the next problem, and the next thing you know, you've got several different opportunities to layer in different affiliate links for different levels to their problems. Is that basically
Spot on.
describing what you're talking about here?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I love it. So no excuses. Anyone who wants to get started, go go start doing your affiliate marketing business right now. And obviously, James is an expert, so go follow him online on Facebook and Instagram, wherever he is. Actually, speaking of that, James, I know that you have a guest coming to your house who to come work on your office, and
Hmm.
so I know we're bumping up to that time. We should probably wrap this up, but honestly, I feel like we could just like start to deep dive, because I felt you pulling that way, that like, yeah, we're talking about the beginner stuff, but like there's some really cool like expert level stuff that we could be talking about too.
Yeah, we can
So
definitely
we
do a
should,
volume two later on if you want.
yeah, that's exactly what we should do. We
Mm.
should definitely get a round two going. But this was awesome. I so very much appreciate you coming on, spending the morning with me. Um, and also the level of vulnerability that you brought to the call today. I very much appreciate that. I don't take that lightly. I recognized it, and I tried my best to match it. I know that we both are like, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both family oriented, we're both men, and so it's really important for us to show up that way. So I appreciate you doing that.
Yep.
Any last thoughts or anything like that? If not, where's the best place for people to get connected with you?
Yeah, you can look me up on Facebook, James Fawcett. Spelled. Do they see my name on here at all when they watch it?
I don't know. It'll probably be in the title of the video. So
Yeah, just in the title of the video, that's how it's spelled. I am the only James Fawcett that with the blue dot. Apparently, after searching on Facebook not long ago, so I got the verified blue dot. Um, Profile's got a picture of me and my son in it, so it will be
there
easy
you
to
go.
find. And I'm also mutual friends with Jimmy, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's just you're more than happy to reach out to me, and yeah, happy to chat and go from there. Yep.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you for tuning in to the next episode of Better Humans, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.